Hi everyone, welcome to World of Aslains with stewiejp. I'm Stewie. This is a quick guide on how to use the Aslains ModPack. Aslains has been one of the most popular ModPacks in Water Tanks since I've been playing the game. He also does one for World of Warships, and that gets installed in pretty much the same way. The way I'm going to show this, I'll show you his website. This is his website, aslain.com. There'll be a link in the video description. If you're running water tanks like I am, this is how I unload Aslains ModPack. Now, anyone who's known me for a while knows that I don't use many parts of his ModPack anymore, but that's probably a different topic for discussion. So if you go to aslain.com, you can see in the I'll move it down a bit so my big head isn't in the way. Click on download water tanks ModPack and you'll be presented with the next screen if it ever loads. Of course, there it is, and of course it's a pretty big screen. He lists all the changes that he makes pretty regularly. He updates it pretty much every day or two. Now, if you're like me and on the Asian server, at the time of making this video, because the Asian server often gets the patches a little bit later than our North American and European friends, then sometimes one of the files that Aslains ModPack looks for in your game is labelled differently, and this one down the bottom here is for the Asian server, Water Tanks ModPack 9.19.1, and this one's 9.19.1.1. They are the same ModPack, it's just that it goes into a different directory. Now, if you want to download and install it, I'd encourage you to click on one of these links. 1, 2, 3, or 4 is a torrent. Not really sure if that one works any differently, but they all work pretty much the same. If you click on one of these links, an AdFly page will come up, and even he says in his website to ignore whatever comes up in the middle of the screen. Up here in the top right hand corner, please wait. When that gets to 0, click on skip ad and it will start downloading automatically. Now, the thing with AdFly, which you're probably about to see, you do get a few pop-ups and a few different advertisements, but once this download has started, you can close it. In the past, there have been a lot of pop-ups with these links, so I've had to click on the direct. If you click on the direct link, this download down the bottom left-hand side of the screen, if you're running Windows, will start automatically. Anyway, I'm going to cancel that because I've already got it. Ready to go. So basically, what you do once you've downloaded the installation pack, it'll ask you what language to use. You click on English or whatever your preferred language might be. There's a number of languages he does it, and I'm going to take you through the different parts of Aslains ModPack. You can see there you start off with the welcome page. If you've never done it before, I highly recommend you click on Show Preview window, and you'll see why in a minute. Click on Next. Gives you a little bit of an introduction and a little bit about how everything abides by the Wargaming Fair Play policy. I disagree on some aspects, but then again, I'm not the one making money out of it. You can see here, and then the next page gives you all the different changes that he's made. It goes absolutely forever. It goes for absolutely miles and miles. The next page you click on, you select where your water tanks folder is located. Now, if you've done it before, it will automatically remember. Mine's on my F drive. Click on Next, and you get you're presented with this page. Now, I'm just going to edit the properties of one of change how this window is going to look because it isn't quite working. There you go. Now, as you look on the mod selection page, which is the bit in the middle, you can select recommended XVM only, settings by Aslains, recommended XVM plus ModPack choices by Aslain, custom will and allow you to customize what you want to put on your game, and uncheck all selections. That's if you want to start again. And again, if you've done it before, if you've already put it on, it will remember what your choices were last time, and of course it will also have them pre-selected. Now, there's a lot of stuff to go through, so I'll try and move through them as quickly as possible. As you select on something, on the right hand side of the screen, that picture, that's why I recommend people who've never done this before enable the description, but you can also do it by clicking on show or hide the description down the bottom of the selection page. The first one is over target markers by XVM. This first section is the XVM section. Now, I don't want to go into a rant about XVM, but XVM has in the past played havoc with my replays, and obviously I don't want that to happen, so any XVM mods I don't use. This box has only been ticked because I've already selected this to make this video. So the XVM section has played havoc with my replays in the past, so I don't do them, and I find personally I play a little bit better without so much junk on the screen, if you like, including the colours and statistics, which we'll get to pretty soon. Now, this video will go for a while, and I apologise for that in advance. So the first section is the over target markers. That's the markers above your friendly and enemy tanks, and you can see there are different designs you can choose. Go through them at your leisure. There's plenty of different ways of looking at the enemy tanks and also the friendly tanks, of course. OTM by Aslains. These are the ones that Aslains has designed, and they're the markers that you see in the pictures when you first load on to Aslains ModPack and look at the description of what he's got. And there's different star markers for premium vehicles. There's all different kinds of things. Go by name. Pardon me. Second line over the hit point marker shows what you're going to have there: the vehicle name, numerical statistics, how many games they've played, their win rate, all that kind of stuff. All different markers, which in my opinion clutter the screen up just a little bit too much for me, but my eyes are probably a little bit older than yours. As we keep on moving down, there's also different ways of labelling the tanks, the tiers that they're in, whether it's Roman or Arabic numbers, hit points as a percentage, win ratio, marks of excellence, you name it, it's all there. And I recommend that you think about what you're going to put on there, because the more information you have on the screen, I find the more I get distracted and the worse I play. But anyway, there's also exclamation marks for low hit point tanks, or you can have the exclamation mark on the right or above. Different class icons. So that one's, of course, there. Heavy tanks on the right, artillery and tank destroyer, and this is one, it's the tier instead of that. It's just different ways of showing how your friendly and your enemy tanks look in game. Floating markings of destroyed vehicles, angel wings, nuclear bombs, all kinds of things. Skull and crossbones, they look pretty cool. The tank souls, which look pretty new. That's what happens when the tank dies, that just floats up in the air. Again, aesthetically it looks pretty good, and it probably looks pretty good in replays, but I don't know if I want that distraction when I'm playing the game. The vehicle hit points is another, you can see it as a percent or as a figure about what you want to see around the friendly and enemy tanks. And of course these are all configurable in the game with the vanilla client anyway, but you can make them look a little bit different. There's a marker for if someone's got a stock turret, markers for spotted and flipped tanks. Now this is an addition to XVM. I think that the people who use this XMQP, it lets you know if they're spotted as long as they're running the same mod, so that's a little bit differently. There's also a thing about the shadows. You can change how intense the shadows are. On the next section, panels and windows in battle. These are all the different panels, and this is what XVM and Aslains and a lot of the other ModPack creators became popular for. You can customize the way. I'll see if I can make that bigger. I'm not sure if you can see that. No, you can't. So I'll close that one. That experiment didn't work. However, it shows all the different ways of looking at statistics of the players on your team and on the enemy team. There's panels by XVM. There's lots of different versions, quickie babies, Aslains. There's also different options for when this one's for when the battle's loading. You can either have the name of the tank or not. All the statistics, and these statistics, that shows the win rate, that shows the average WN8, and of course the amount of battles they've played, as well as country flags and other things which we'll get to soon. There's other versions for the in-game statistics. This is where this one up here is for when you're loading into the game. This one's for when you push the tab key in-game, which generally shows the same thing. You can show or hide the country labels if a person has selected through XVM, or I'm not sure if it detects it if they don't have XVM, what country they might be playing from. And of course, if you go into XVM and log in, you can change yours so you can make people think that you're playing from a totally different country if that's something that floats your boat. So it's not really that accurate, but maybe if you might see somebody who speaks the same language as you might be able to say hello. More options for the panels. This one's with shorter player names, and of course the tank icons are a little bit more prominent. More and more and more options for what you see in game. This is all about the statistics. That's the biggest one you can see, and there's statistics as far as the eye can see. You've got the player's name. I think that next one is how they rate. Higher the number being the better. How many games they've played, their average WN8, their average win rate. I think this might be the average WN8 in that particular tank, the win rate in that particular tank, and the amount of damage they do compared to the hit points of their vehicle. So this person doesn't do well at all. He only does 1/3 of the damage of his vehicle. Well, this bloke does 1.2, which, again, to me, it's just a massive, massive distraction. But a lot of people swear by it. A lot of people absolutely love running XVM and all these different statistics. There's other ways of looking at it, as you can see there. This one is just a flat efficiency or WN8 overall rating without the win rate and all the individual statistics. And there's other ways of seeing it as well. Start mode, you can select how your left and right panels start. Start with nothing, start with just the names of the tanks, start with a little bit more information, more and more, or that's by default. Of course, that's with XVM installed. Of course, that's not the actual World of Tanks default setting for the left and right panels. Background transparency is just how bold or dull you want the names of the tanks to appear on the left and right, and if you want to, you can also display the hit point bars. Now, up until now, everything else that's come up before, of course, all those XVM statistics and WN8 figures and all that kind of stuff, they can affect your game, not just psychologically knowing who's good and who's not good on your team and the enemy team, but it could also take a little bit of power out of the engine of your computer, and maybe it may affect your lag or your latency while you're playing the game. This hit point bars modification certainly does that, especially if you're playing on a cheaper computer, a computer that's not the most powerful computer in the world. I'm lucky I've got a pretty high-end computer, and that's how I can make videos and live stream and all that kind of stuff, and this probably wouldn't affect me. But if you're not playing on a high internet connection, these mods certainly will affect your game. It'll feel like you're lagging, and they're just different ways of looking at the hit points on your team and the enemy team. Of course, the enemy team ones only if they're spotted or have been spotted, or it's the hit points last time they were spotted. So if artillery takes a blind shot and kills someone, or takes a lot of their health off, that won't come up on the enemy side of this panel unless they get spotted again. That one looks like a little bit more easier to read, and you've got the thin lines as well. Display enemy spotted markers. These are markers just on the enemy side. Green means that they're currently spotted, red means they have been spotted but they're not spotted at the moment, and clear means they have never been spotted this entire game. And there's a few different ways of looking at that. You can use the eye, the light bulbs, and all that kind of stuff. Or if they're not spotted, you can make it so that that mark actually disappears if they've never been seen in the game. This is another one which might be handy for you. It just makes this figure of how many kills everybody's got a little bit more visible, a little bit more brighter. This one shows the clan icons. Now, at the time of recording, I think Aslains been taking a bit of a break, and some of them haven't been updated, at least for the Asia server. I'm not sure about Europe, Russia, North America, and anywhere else that play the game. You can display the client flags, which we've gone through before, and display XMQP. Now, they're the markers which your teammates, if they're running the same mod, they will let you know if they're spotted or not. Next section is the XVM minimap. Circles. Now, there's lots of circles available in the game. Now, these pictures are a little bit outdated, but still relevant. You can choose to put the 50-meter circle around your tank. Now, if an enemy tank encroaches that circle, you're automatically spotted, so that might be an advantage for somebody who might not have sixth sense, so might not know that they're spotted. This blue line is the way the camera's facing. These two white lines are the way your turret's facing. So if a tank appears between those lines, you know you might have shots of them on them, unless they're behind cover. And this red square, which is now a red circle, and that's what I meant by being updated, that's your view rate, that's your render distance, I should say. This is your view range here, so you might spot tanks in this circle, or they might spot you if you're shooting. And this red square, which is now a circle in game, anything outside that square you will not see. It's just too far away to see. And there's different options for all these circles. Now it must be said, there's a lot of stuff there on the screen. That all goes on the mini-map. There are options for this in-game as well. There's a dynamic view range, which I find quite handy, but I think that's in the game as well. So that might be a normal view range, but when you've stopped or when you've got your binoculars activated, that blue circle might get a little bit bigger. So you'll know how much of a chance you've got to spot enemy tanks that might be within that circle. Other options for the circles, again, they're all those options for the circles are available in game, but with Aslains ModPack, or with any other ModPack as well, they all run pretty much the same nowadays. It might be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, if you like. With the lines, you've got the different lines. You can have a long and thin green line, you can have a different, just a short white line, turquoise, yellow, pick your favourite colour and it can be there. Gun traverse lines, they're also there, we've already been through that. Icons for destroyed tanks. If a tank's being killed either on your team or the enemy team, there'll be a bit of a shadow on the mini-map. That might be something which floats your boat. Hit point circles on the mini-map. Now, if anyone who's been watching my videos for some time, I used to run this this mod, and it is very, very handy. You can see just at a glimpse how many hit points your team's on. You can see the E100 and the E3 on full health, as well as the artilleries, but you can see maybe this Waffenträger Alpha E100, that's how old since this picture was taken, and this tank destroyer here, both on pretty low health, so you might want to either give them some support or advise them to pull back. But again, it's a lot of clutter on the screen, so make up your mind. Give it a run if you like, see what you think. And again, it does take a little bit of power out of your internet connection. Show player names. If you want the player names on the minimap to come up, you can. Again, more clutter on the minimap. Personally, I'm not interested in doing all that. Enemies, allies, or you can also have player names by colour rating. That's a WN8 colour rating, which probably isn't a bad idea, but again, more clutter on the minimap. No thank you very much. Show vehicle names, short names or long names. Tank names coloured by rating, more of the same, except it's just the tank name rather than the player's individual name. You can also have an alternative minimap mode. When you push the Alt, it'll change the way the minimap look. I think it does pop up in the middle of the screen. That might be handy if you're calling a battle, whether there's clan wars or skirmishes or advances or even platooning. It might make it easier for you to click on the map, but there are different ways you can look at the minimap when you push the Alt key. Whether it's the different tiers, I'm not really sure what these numbers mean. They're certainly not tank names. They could be absolutely anything. It could be maybe win rating or some kind of XVM setting. And again, try not to make your page too cluttered. That looks pretty cluttered to me already, with all those names and descriptions on the mini-map. Bearing in mind the mini-map only takes up less than a quarter of your screen. You can also show the hit point circles on the mini-map, which we've already been through. Icon scale, you can make the icons bigger or smaller. There's no pictures for that. You wouldn't want it too big, I guess, because again, that would take up more room on your mini-map. Mini-map position, you can have the mini-map position on the bottom right corner or centered. That's obviously when you push the tab key or the Alt key. And this is the key that you select to make the minimap get bigger. Control, caps lock or insert. More visible minimap coordinates. Maybe if you're like me and your eyesight isn't the best, you might want to be able to see the numbers and letters on the sides of the minimap. Make that a bit brighter. I can't see the harm in that one. And also there's some options for artillery sights. And for those clickers out there, I don't need to play artillery anymore. I've finished my artillery missions. I'm pretty excited about that. Did that just the other day, and so I've sold all the arties and I don't need to play that crap anymore. That's just another thing which might make you enjoy artillery a little bit more, maybe. Who knows? There's 10 different versions. You can pick one or leave it. Oh, personally, I would just leave it at whatever's in there. Now, there's hit log settings. Again, quite a few patches ago, hit logs were introduced into the vanilla client, and there's some more versions of different hit log. This is the one I used to use. If you've been following me for a while, you'll see this is the one I used to use when I used to run it, but now I just use it in-game. I find that anything in-game you would imagine would work and have less of a chance of creating lag or latency than anything that's in by a third-party mod. Again, there's more different damage logs. This one's a little bit different. I don't mind this one. You can either have it at the top or down near this thing on the bottom left. That's how much damage you've done, how much assisted damage, damage blocked and spotted. I'm currently on a mission for my light tanks where I need to spot 7 tanks before they spot me. That might help me in my mission for doing that. Personally, I don't do that because I could just have a guess a bit. I don't really want anything like this to change the way I'm playing my game. You can change the colour scheme if you want to colorblind, but again, that is part of the vanilla client as well. The XVM player statistics is the next section of Aslains ModPack, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, XVM does play a big part in Aslains ModPack and anyone else. There's a few different ways of grading the players: your blues, your greens, your purples, your reds. It's just different ways, however you want to do it. Next setting is 6 cents settings. Jesus Christ, try and say that a few times. Yeah, there's an option to display the 6 cents for a full 10 seconds. So keep the light bulb up there just as a visual reminder that you have been spotted not so long ago. And there is a million different icons. And you could actually, with a bit of research, you can do that by changing. You can do it yourself, put whatever icon you like in there, either by using this mod pack or installing it yourself just by changing the icon image in the mods folder. I think the folder is called 6 cents. Just got to change it to an icon. Make sure it's not too big though. I had to play with it a few years ago. I ended up with a full screen picture of something every time I got spotted, which was fantastic. There's even Arnold Schwarzenegger, Donald Trump, you name it, it's all there. Do you feel lucky, punk? Well, do ya? That one looks pretty cool to me. Personally, I just use the stock standard light bulb, which is available in the game, and along with the 6 cents icons, there's a heap of sounds which you might want to put in there as well. Moving to the Hangar XVM settings. This just changed the way your Hangar looks or your garage. You can price button in the tech tree and research page. I'm not sure what that one does. I think it highlights how many credits it might cost to buy a tank that you've just finished researching or that you're not far off researching. Mastery badge, that's in the tech tree. There's a locker for gold, so you don't accidentally convert gold or purchase gold. Maybe when you've had a few too many drinks, you might want to put a lock on there. It's very easy to turn that lock off though. You can change the default currency from gold to credits for shells and consumables. Of course, you can do that in a vanilla client by doing that with each individual tank when you're resupplying. That might be something you might be interested in. Personally, I just do it in-game client. There's a premium shop button in-game. I thought that was part of the vanilla client anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. There's also hide counter on the system channel. Down the bottom right corner you get all those notifications. You might want to just hide that, and you can also whack a clock into your garage if you like, which is probably handy if you're going to be playing on full screen, not on window mode. As we continue to move down through these XVM settings, there's an option for multi-tank carousel. Now you can use the normal game settings. As you probably know, you can do this in game 1 or 2 levels, but if you want to go 3, 4 or even 5 levels of tanks in your garage carousel, then that's something that you can do it if you really want to. And of course, if you've got 5 rows, you probably want to make them a bit smaller. There's options to make them bigger or smaller as well. Show advanced information on the carousel. There's different setups, but basically it shows the battle tiers that you'll be fighting at, mastery mark, marks of excellence in percentage, your win rate, played battles, average damage, and WN8 expected damage. So the expected damage that you should do every game if you're to be considered pulling your weight in that tank. There's also some other carousel stats by other developers and a few other different things. Personally, I like to keep it simple, so I don't run any of those. Small carousel, you can make it, this is similar setup but with the smaller icons, so you can still have up to 5 rows, but the icons are a little bit smaller. You can make the transparency a little bit different and give yourself different color boxes around the selected tank. if that's something that floats your boat. Moving on to the other XVM settings, which is the last section of the XVM section of Aslains ModPack. There's an auto login to the game. Of course, if you're on the Asian server, there's no option to have your password and login name remembered, and there's a very good reason for that. A lot of people in Southeast Asia, when I was travelling over there, played these kinds of games from internet cafes, and I guess Wargame are thinking they don't want to be flooded with queries saying, hey, somebody else has used my account, sold my tanks, damaged my win rate, wasted credits, and they just don't want to be dealing with all those queries from people who have inadvertently left their password on at an internet cafe. A few other options with the XVM settings. There's some ping, online users, in-game battle clock, that might be handy. Again, like I said earlier, if you're playing on full screen. Show Team W and 8 difference on the players panel. Display the repair panel. If you push the control key, you can see your crew members and all the modules of your tank if something might be damaged. Repair timers on the damage panel down the bottom left hand side of the screen. Team and enemy hit points. Alive players instead of frags, so instead of starting at 0-0, it starts at 15-15. Remember your favourite server. Equip auto return, and that's so that when you select a tank, it will automatically put the equipment on there of the equipment that can change around, like the toolkit, the binoculars, and the camouflage net. Colorize in battle chat, that would be a big distraction for me, but maybe not for you. Maybe your eyesight's a bit better than me. There's also some gun reload sounds when your gun's loaded, which can alert you to when your gun's ready to fire rather than just paying attention. And you can disable XVM sounds and ammo rack sounds if you want to. Now the next section of Aslains ModPack is the non-XVM mods. Now these are the only mods that I personally use, and we'll start moving through them. Vehicle contour items, not really sure what that is. Not really sure at all. That's oh, here they are. Here they are down here. You can, again, without using it, this is an option to change your vehicle contour items over here on the left and right hand side of the screen in battle with different options without running XVM. And most of those, a lot of those look like Aslains. This one here is the one, if you've been following me for a while, that's the, pardon me, that's the icons that I used to use. But probably for the last 6 or 12 months I haven't been doing it. It's colourblind versions, there's all different kinds of things there, and there's absolutely millions of them. You can keep scrolling down at your leisure. I'm not going to go through them all because there is absolutely heaps of them. Zoom in for sniper mode, you can give yourself some extra zoom up to 60 times rather than the normal 8. You can zoom out up to 500 meters rather than whatever the normal one is. You can change your scroll sensitivity if you really want to. I personally do that using my mouse software and also in-game settings. Default zoom, when you hit the shift key to zoom in, if you're sniping from a distance or playing a tank destroyer, it'll remember which way, but I just leave it unchecked and remember wherever I was zoomed in the last time, generally 8 times. You can disable your gun shake effect after your last shot. This doesn't affect your accuracy. Some people think it makes their gun a little bit more accuracy. It certainly makes it feel like it's a bit more accuracy. Your gun doesn't shake after a shot, but by the time your gun's loaded, your gun will be still again. Anyway, you can scope shadow, remove it, take some shadow away. It might make your game look a little bit clearer. Show extra zoom indicator on crosshair. I don't run this mod, but that's in the game anyway using the vanilla client. You can disable your handbrake when you're a tank destroyer, when you're sniping. Enable free camera in replays. This is a mod that I do use, and that's so that when I'm recording videos I can pause a video and move the camera around and take some shots for those introductory pictures when I do my videos on World of Tanks with stewiejp at GeTONBOARDSTEWIEJP. Disable red flash when the enemy hits your tank. If that's what you want to do, you can. Horizontal stabilization in sniper mode, I believe, is part of the game now. Armor penetration indicator, that tells you in this instance your gun's got 75mm pen, whatever you're aiming at is 49. But that does the same thing as when your aim dot in the game, if that turns green, it's going to penetrate, not counting armor. Server crosshair, you can show the server crosshair if you like. I don't believe this is beneficial, but some people do. Some people like it. To me, again, it's another distraction. If you're playing with a lot of lag, you want to know what the server thinks you're aiming at. But again, it's yet another distraction. You can also make your crosshairs bigger or smaller. There's some more crosshair mods. You can change the way your gun looks when it aims at the enemy tanks. I'm not going to go through them all because there are lots of them. It's just the way. How do you want your game to look? There's absolutely heaps of them. Battle Assistant for SPG, that changes the view of your artillery when you're aiming in at an enemy tank, and as we know, well, maybe you don't know, that's now part of the game that can be enabled through your in-game settings. Info panel on enemy tanks. If you're aimed at a tank, tells you what kind of tank it is, how much armor it's got, the hit points, the weight. To me, that's just more messy stuff on the screen, which is going to distract me from playing at my best. There's some gun marker shapes. You can change your gun marker shapes, and I think that's for tank destroyers and possibly artillery. Custom damage indicators. These are all part of the game now. These look very similar to the ones in game, and I personally think the ones in game in the vanilla client look a little bit better. But if you don't think so, you can put these on if you like. It tells you who's shooting you and how much damage you've either blocked or taken. You can also extend the time of display to 14 seconds. That's a long time to have these marks up on your screen. I would not recommend that at all. This one, the attack mod, this brings up a little icon. I think it might even have a sound as well when somebody is within 100 meters of your tank. And this shows that 15 meter circle so that you're automatically spotted if someone crosses into that circle if you push the F9 key. Again, something which would just distract me. Pathfinder, this is a new one which is soon going to be redundant. Wargaming is saying they're going to get rid of all these boosting positions. This is a Pathfinder mod which shows you how to get onto these boosts and shows you how to get into those weird and wonderful positions that we see people on the Wargaming Gold League, and you also see it a fair bit in random battles and clan wars, skirmishes and all that kind of stuff. People going into all these different odd positions. Wargaming is saying in the next patch 9.20 they're going to remove some of them with the goal of removing all of them very, very soon. Spot a vehicle direction on aim circle. That tells you who's spotting. Well, sorry, if an enemy tank gets spotted, which direction they're at, which is, I used to run this one. It's not a bad reminder as to where they might be. Direction indicator to closest enemy. Closest enemy is this KV2 at 85 meters to your left. Now there was a bit of discussion about whether or not this mod is legal. There was two different colors, purple and green. I think purple meant you wouldn't have a shot out of him. Green meant that you would. So he's spotted, he's 85 meters away, and there's no houses or buildings between you and him. I could be wrong, but that's what the discussion was about some time ago. Friendly artillery aiming position. I actually like the idea of this one, and it's of course it's in the vanilla client, but the person playing artillery needs to push the T key for this to happen. It lets you know where your friendly artillery is aiming, so you don't inadvertently get hit by your friendly artillery, which is probably not a bad idea. And there's a few different versions of that, and you can also see some versions of that on the Minimap. Coloured damage stickers. That's, to me, this is just, I don't know, it's not really for me. Marks on where if a tank gets shot, whether it's your tank, a friendly tank, or an enemy tank, the guns that do the damage, leave that mark on where they were hit. You can also change the colours of the base circles. That's for the friendly bases, and for the enemy base. And of course, that might be helpful if you're colourblind or if you've got some kind of vision impairment, but that's not something I bother with. Tank lights and headlights. This is a bit of a gimmick, but it does look pretty good. There's even a police siren, neon wheels. Turn off the sun so it's night time. I can't see that being conducive to good gameplay, so it's not something that I ever think about. This is something I do use though. The crew skill informer. If you're in game and you push the backspace key, it'll tell you what crew skills your tanks have got. When I'm playing platooning with my friends at 1AR, they might often be saying, oh, I've got a few crew skills on this, how many got on that? So hit your backspace, tells you how many crew skills we've got. Also, it's a good reminder if you've got, to remind you if you've got Sixth Sense or if you've got some other kind of skill or perk that you might be interested in. And it doesn't show it in this picture, it also tells you what equipment you've got. and which is handy again when you're platooning and talking with people. Oh, what kind of equipment do you run on that? Do you want a gun ram or a vertical stabilizer, fence, whatever? You can tell them in-game rather than waiting until after the battle's over. There's also some frames per second and lag notification things, which they're in the game now as well. So maybe it's not entirely necessary. Aim helping mods, we're getting through them now. Auto aim indicator, there was some conjecture about this some time ago when the fair play policy came in. Personally, I don't really think this should be in the game. I think it's a very grey area. When you push the right mouse key, you auto aim on a tank. That's what you do in the vanilla version of the game. With this modification, this continues to keep locking for 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 5 seconds, or infinitely until you push the right key again. Remember when there was Auto Aim Plus earlier, you just had to right click in the general direction of the enemy tank and your gun would lock on? Well, this one, you can't do that with the new fair play policy. You have to actually highlight the tank. This one, it tries to do it for a certain amount of time. Bit of a grey area from my point of view. Safe shot for blocking, shooting at wrecks or allies. And there's also one that announces that your gun's reloading. Safe shot extended, I would not recommend. You can't shoot at wrecks or allies for a full 2 seconds. So if you go to shoot at an enemy tank, but your mouse is pointing at a friendly or a wreck, not only can you not shoot the friendly or wreck, which is probably good, which these other mods up here would be good for, you can't shoot at all for a full 2 seconds. It doesn't sound like long, but it might be the difference between getting a shot off before you die and not, so I wouldn't recommend that. Ballistics calculation helper, I think that's more for artillery. It tells you how long it might take before the shot lands. Extra aim, again, that's another one for artillery. How long it's going to take for the shell to land there and how long it's going to take to aim. Just more unnecessary information on the screen from my point of view. Moving down to the chat mods now, there's some filters. You can color code the messages, you can block hate and spam and swear words, all that kind of thing. There's some mods there which tells you how you went in the last game. The reload ones for clan spam and making different messages. Not really too much work for me, not interested at all. There's also a damage announcer, which is in the vanilla client at all. Moving on to the damage logs, there's more damage logs here. Now these are damage logs without using XVM. These are the ones that I did used to use, but again, it's now part of the in-game client, so it's not something I really go for. Hit logs, this is not too bad. This tells you can have, it's customizable. You can just show your efficiency rate or your WN8 and the difference of how close you are to having a decent game, how much damage you've done, all that kind of stuff. There's mods here which tell you when it's someone's shooting you with APCR or heat rounds, but again, that's part of the vanilla client now. Team hit points, now this is another mod which might make you feel like you're playing with a bad connection, especially if you don't have a very good connection, or if your computer system isn't like top of the range like mine might be. It tells you how many hit points on both sides. Again, if tanks are unspotted when they're damaged, it's not going to adjust these figures until they are spotted, but pretty handy for clan wars too, I guess. Once all the enemy tanks are spotted, you know how much you're dealing with, or skirmishes, all that kind of stuff. There's lots of different configurations. Another clock mod, another ping mod, and of course these are the ones without XVM. Armor penetration indicator. Display damage meters, again that's part of the game now, so it's not something I'd really look at. And also showing whether tanks are lit or not, again without using XVM. Display how much damage everybody's done. That sounds good, but all that's going to do is frustrate you about these people here that are still on 0 and camping at the back. As well as the hit point bars. Minimap tank view direction. Now this one used to be illegal, but now Wargaming with their fair play policy is saying that it is completely legal. On the minimap you can see which direction friendly and enemy guns are aiming. I think with the friendly it's just tank destroyers and artilleries, but on the enemies it's all tanks. That used to be illegal, apparently now it's okay. GTO's hit marker. This is part of the game. I just changed my reticle to a dot and it pretty much looks like that. It goes green if you're going to penetrate. That's pretty simple, that one. A different 6th sense sound. Spotting markers, which we've covered before. I do use this so I can see how many tanks have been spotted. Arty log, more unnecessary information in my opinion, but it does say what artillery is doing. final shot, that just shows a picture after you die of what killed you, and real in-time battle achievements. I've never tried this one. This one, that looks like a Pools medal, but it's in Russian. That might tell you how you're going in-game. No Fog and Max Fairplane by AOTIK. This makes the pictures look a little bit more crisp and clear, which is good for somebody like me whose eyesight isn't the best, and that's why I use it. And there's a few other annoying features that you can remove where it's camouflage, clan logs, nation decals, exhaust, smoke, all that kind of stuff, explosions, and it takes distractions away. I don't use any of them, but you might be interested. Garage mods, as we move on towards the end of this video, there's different garage mods. You can make the garage look a little bit different. You can automatically equip your binoculars, repair kits, or camo net in any order. Different ways of looking at the tech tree. That might look pretty good for you. There's pictures of camouflage tanks in the tech tree rather than just the standard icons, and of course even on the carousel you can make your premium tanks look gold or make them look like they've got camouflage on. Looks pretty good, but it's not something I'm going to stuff around for. Crew icons in the game, you can make them all girls, you can make them all cartoons, anime, Family Guy, Girls and Panzer, World War, WWE, or historic tank men, which looks interesting, but again doesn't really affect the game, just something that you might think looks good in your garage. Battle results windows, some of these look pretty groovy. This one's been around for a long time because it's in Russian, or I think maybe even Polish. You've got ones with Serb and his ugly mug on there making some funny things. You've got some girls in bikinis. Battle results, different battle results, they look quite tasty. And the anime ones as well. Different versions of the tech tree as well, makes it a little bit more compact as you can see the whole line. I think with the standard tech tree, I do use the compact horizontal one. With the standard one, you can't, some tank lines you can't see from tier 1 to tier 10. With these ones you can. Crew and vehicle experience extended gives you a bit more information about how far until the next tank gets unlocked. Research box, that's another version of the same one. Personal missions hunter, I tried this, lasted about 2 games, it was just too distracting. Tells you what mission you're on. Again, push the tab key on the vanilla client and it tells you anyway. Automatic mission changer is another mod which is not necessary because the game does it for you. Advanced tips for skills, that's in Polish, so if you're in Polish maybe you might want to put that one on. Obviously I'm not and I can't understand what it says. Battle hit viewer, replay manager, that takes up a lot. That if you turn that on, it puts all your replays somewhere. I know it takes a long time to do, so I don't use that one. Hangar armor inspector, so you can inspect the different tanks and see where the weak spots are. If you're not too sure, if you're coming up against a tank that you're having trouble penetrating, then that's something you might consider, but there's websites which do that. There's a calculator, don't know why you'd want a calculator. Also another different hangar clock. Crew auto return, I do use this one, or as I like to call it, I can't be bothered looking for where my last put my crew. I use that for my premium tanks, which share crews with other ones. This one here checks for Aslains ModPack updates in Garage. I most definitely turn that off because he updates it every second day, and I don't need to update it every second day. I only update every patch. Session stats, I use this one. This tells me how I've gone for a game with the WN8, the win rate, how many credits I've made, how I'm going for the session, how many battles, how many wins, and a percentage. That's not too bad to see how you've been travelling, and there's different versions of that. There's also different backgrounds for the same ones. Graphical battle messages, that just got to get some little pictures in there, not really interested in that myself. Text extension, that looks messy. Reset the daily stats at 6 o'clock, that's what it does automatically. Enable special add-ons, I think that's for researching. More session stats, more sound mods. There's more announcers and gun sounds, crew sounds. You can change the crew sounds to different languages, or you can make them sound like
target marked.
the Minions, Duke Nukem, My Little Pony, Monty Python. There's some Polish, German, Czech and Japanese versions, Girls and Panzer being a very popular TV show featuring tanks. We've also got some hit zone mods, which as you're playing games, it shows all these little things on the enemy tanks, where it could be a weak spot to hit them, where the commander or the loader or the gunner might be located, where the ammo rack is, and that might help you pull off some pretty groovy shots. Korean Random, that's a different version. Esther is a different version again, and there's a heap now on Aslains of individual tank skins. So when you're playing, nobody else can see it, but your tanks can look a little bit different and a little bit more groovy, and that goes through by nationality. Russians, Germans, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, it's all there. And they do look pretty cool, some of these. Definitely worth having a look at, but not really something that floats my boat. White, nearly finished now. White death skins, you can make the dead tanks go white, which might make them easier to see, or just their tracks, or the wagons might go white. That's wagons on trains. Enhanced camo, you can make the camouflage on tanks look a little bit more sharp. Single tone camo, no idea why you'd want water tanks to look like Armoured Warfare, but maybe you would. Camouflage setup, not really sure what that one does. Enhanced marks of excellence, so if somebody's got marks of excellence on their gun barrel, it makes it look a little bit sharper. Marked indestructible structures, so if you're driving towards a building you think you can run it over, it puts a little colour on that building and you can't run through it. Just a visual reminder, but once you've been playing for a while you don't really need that. Train tracks, you can make the train wagons, and these flat ones which are yellow on top, that means you can shoot over the top of them. Or that one looks a bit different as well. Different borders, again more aesthetic things. It's a wide line at the end. A grid, which to me would be very, very confusing. Moving down to the last section, various mods and external apps. Got custom login screens, you can show different pictures and videos at the start of the game. A girl drinking a bottle of champagne, that looks pretty good. A few bits of, gee, I might put some of these on. These look very tasty indeed, some of these. Battle loading tips with a bit of anime, some more different ways of showing the minimaps. There's a versus mod that collects statistics for whatvs.com, which is a website which tracks your statistics. Not something I'm personally interested in, but you might be. Map rotation, that tells you how many times you've seen each map, which all that's going to do is frustrate you if you're seeing the same map all the time. Change client messages to Polish, not something I would do, but you might do if you're Polish. There's another spam blocker, an account manager. That's probably like for logging in automatically. Radio wargaming, show password saving box, that's for Asia only because other servers do have it, and we covered that earlier. That's another mod that I do use because I can't be bothered typing it in. All I need to do is click on connect. But even if you don't run that mod, you can do a quick login with Facebook, Google, or your wargaming account. I've tested that and it does work quite well. There's a region changer if you want to be playing on a different region. Water tanks tweaker plus. Not really too sure about that one, but it does do similar to what one of the other mods do about getting rid of some of these effects. And application for loading Aslain installer configuration. I think that's for people who might be changing the configuration themselves. People who are a little bit more tech savvy than I am. So there you go. I'm stewiejp, you're not. That was just a little bit of it's probably gone on for some time now, but it's a video about how to install Aslains from Aslains.com or Aslain.com. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you'll come away from this video with a little bit more information if you're somebody who likes running mods. Obviously I don't run as many as I used to, just some very, very basic ones, but maybe you do, and maybe you're not sure how some of them work. Hopefully this worked. My other Aslain guides over the years have been quite popular. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care and see you all next time.